Okay, good evening. It's near enough to 8 o'clock, so we'll start. My name is Mark Fernandez. I'm a student of Tara Institute. I've been studying Buddhism for over 35 years. So my main teachers are the resident teacher here, Geshe Doga, Venerable Geshe Doga, plus Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who's one of the founders of the group of centres that Tara Institute belongs to, and also His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So I've been blessed to have good teachers. So hopefully some of that rubs through tonight, and there'll be some benefit for you. So I'm going to discuss a number of different topics. Just to give you a little bit of a taste, and then in the subsequent weeks we'll go over some of those topics in a bit more detail. So feel free to ask questions too, so that way it's a little bit more interactive rather than me droning on for an hour. Okay, so the first thing, whenever we start teachings at Tara Institute, generally on Tuesday and Wednesday night, they always start with this prayer. It's the Refuge and Generating Bodhicitta prayer, and it's on page 2 of the red prayer folder. So if you ever come on those nights, you'll see these prayers being said. So I'll just read them out in English. So the first one, Refuge and Generating Bodhicitta. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma and the highest assembly, from the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. So that prayer is said 3 times, so it's a little bit of, well, I'm saying it, and saying it once, I'm thinking about it, and then I'm saying it the second time, thinking about it, saying it the third time. So you're really setting that strong motivation or energy in that direction. So by saying this prayer, you're actually creating a bookend for whatever activity you're subsequently going to do, which is tonight you're going to be listening to me. But if your motivation's positive, intention's positive, then your activity or action will be positive. And then at the end of that, we'll do something else to actually make sure that positive action or has some effect. So have any of you been to teachings that I've given before? Could you put your hand up? Okay, a few, that's good. So, but I might repeat myself with a few things tonight, because these are my favourite lines, if you like, so from Buddhism. So first one's from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. All beings want happiness and don't want suffering. So is that true? Yeah, people nodding their heads. Anyone disagree? Think, well, what about an ant or an amoeba or a spider? Or do they want some form of happiness? Can we ascribe happiness to animals? Yes? Yeah, so generally the consensus is these days, even from psychologists, that in the past it was like, oh no, it's a, Pavlov's, it's a stimulus response for an animal. They get a stimulus and they respond a certain way, but they don't have the emotion of happiness or threat, or but so they're operating either on instinct or some sort of stimulus response. But now, from what they've done in behavioural psychology with animals, they even think, well, yeah, even that animal kingdom, that community, they're acting with the same motivation, the motivation for some form of happiness and the avoidance of suffering. So if animals have that, we've surmised that, and we can say for certain that we humans have that, huh? Yep. So in terms of the source of happiness, there are 2. So we can look at something external to us, either external happiness, external good conditions, good body, good job, good relationships, good house, good car, good. So a lot of external things can be utilised to bring happiness. However, in Buddhism, the main focus is on internal development of the mind. So the external object still plays its part, because if we're constantly worrying about, well, I don't have enough to eat, I have no shelter, then it's very difficult to develop the mind. It can be done, but it's very difficult. Once we have those baseline things, and in psychology I think they call them hygiene factors. You've got these baseline things that you have, and from that you can go, all right, I can now start thinking about, well, what things can I do to develop my happiness, develop happiness. So in Buddhism, there's the presentation that the mind, when you drill back, it's ultimately the source of all the problems. Is that true? Yes? Can you give me an example of how the mind could be a problem? The source of the problem? The attitude, yes. Yes. So although the external condition might be problematic, if the attitude to that situation is negative from your own side, it can make it 100 times worse. So because we can become overly sensitive or threatened, even if so say the case was we're meeting up with a long lost friend, haven't seen for years, and then they say something that really upsets us. From their side it might have been, oh, hello, how are you, have you seen Jane, da, 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 and that brings up all the emotion for you. But from your side it's, oh, she's talking about Jane, I don't want that brought up, and it makes me so upset. So there's a little bit of, actually a lot, coming back from our own side. Our own mental approach to the situation actually determines whether we're going to be happy or not. So when we think of people who don't have very much in terms of material possessions and so on, could they be happy? Does anyone know of people who don't have all that much materially but they're content? Yeah? Okay. So that's, if you like, that proves the point, if you like, that you might have just enough and you're satisfied and happy, content. And the flip side of that is you might have everything and be very unhappy. So today I saw a photo of James Packer. So he's sitting in a cafe with his ex-wife. He's got this big t-shirt, and underneath is some machine that he's wired up to. So I don't know, he didn't look in good shape. Like, he's just looked. So, but he's a billionaire. So he's got everything, but he's obviously not well. So it's a good example, really, I think, of someone who has everything materially, but perhaps mentally he's not happy, not the best he could be. So if the mind is the source of the problem, can we be happy if we have all these problematic states? A few people are nodding, a few people are not saying anything. So it's in Buddhism there's this analogy of the sky and the clouds. So the sky being our crystal clear Buddha nature, our ultimate state, and the clouds being all these, if you like, afflicted mental states, worry, anger, depression, all those things that just send a cloud over the happiness or this clear crystal nature, this Buddha nature. So in Buddhism they say that although those adventitious states are there, they're not at one with this Buddha nature. Because if the mind, if those afflicted states were at one with the Buddha nature, we could never remove them. They'd always be there. We'd always have anger. But because they're adventitious, then there is some ability to say, well, anger can be dealt with and eventually removed. And it'll reveal this crystal clear Buddha nature, the ultimate state of our mind. So in Buddhism we say that the Buddha achieved that state after many trials and tribulations. He actually realised that he could remove the state of suffering for himself and permanently, and achieve this sort of everlasting happiness. So if the Buddha could do it, and he was another human being like us, a historical figure, then the possibility is there for us to be able to do it, to embark on that journey. So it should provide us with some inspiration that it's not, well, I feel terrible today, I'll feel terrible tomorrow, I'll feel terrible into the future. There's no way, there's no hope, it's permanent. That we shouldn't feel like that. We should feel, well, there is some possibility for this development, this spiritual development or mental development. So it's said that the human condition, particularly in the continent we live in, it's very rare and valuable. So could anyone surmise why being born where we are at this time is rare and valuable? Yep. That's right. Yep. Yes. Can everyone hear? Can everyone hear? Yep, great. Yeah, well, they're pretty good. So you've really got good physical conditions. You're not at war with anyone. Because imagine that. You know, you're looking up, and instead of the sky, all you're hearing are the sound of the bombs coming in. And trying to duck for cover. And so we have good environment too. So got enough clean water, food. The food's really good here. So those are, if you like, external conditions we have. But we've also got, as my friend here mentioned, we're here at the time of the Buddha. So the Buddha came and taught, and we're still receiving the benefit of those teachings because we have very good teachers who pass that lineage on, who teach those teachings to us. So that's quite rare as well, because if you shift to another continent, and I was born in Tanzania. Does anyone know where that Tanzania is? Does everyone know where Tanzania is? Okay, which continent? Africa, right. So, well, you guys have got good command of geography. But if you look at Africa compared to Australia as a continent, you go, okay, what have we got? War, famine, flood, disease, corruption. You know, you've got all these things happening that seem to be random, but they seem to occur one after the other. That it's the people there don't seem to be able to get a break. So, and if you ever watch SBS News, you'll see it's like 1 hour of problem when they talk about Africa and some of the other hotspots around the world where it's quite difficult though in those places. So we're quite lucky. So without being, feeling pompous about it, it's just there. If you look, you go, oh, okay, we're very fortunate. So that's a good thing. We're very lucky in that respect. The other thing we have, apart from the external conditions, are the internal conditions of the mind. So we have the ability to critically evaluate, question and learn. So in the Buddhist teachings they talk about 3 things to do when you want to work out how to solve your problems. So the first one is listening. So you listen to whoever's conveying the information. The second thing to do is to contemplate. So that's you thinking about it, what you've heard or listened to or read. And then the third, which is the most powerful, it's the meditation itself. So that's, in Buddhism, that's the tool to solve the problem, is the meditation. But if you don't do the other 2 steps, you probably won't do the meditation because you won't be convinced. So it's important, you listen, which I can see all of you're listening. So, and then afterwards, or even as you're going, because your minds work quickly, to actually start thinking it over and saying, does it make sense or is it rubbish? So you've got those critical faculties. So they're very, very important to use them. And then when you do meditate, you have some conviction, oh yeah, if I do these steps, this will work. So the one of the quotes I mentioned in the newsletter was that this is from Venerable Geshe Doga: a peaceful mind is a happy mind. So Geshe Doga is really pointing to the mind then being the source of this peace and then happiness. He's not dismissing the external objects, like you've got good clothes and warmth and good conditions, but they play a part. But he's saying really, when you dial it back, it's the peaceful mind that's going to bring you the long-lasting happiness. So that means though, when you encounter good conditions, like a great meal, you enjoy it. It brings you some bliss and happiness. It's not like, oh well, forget that, I'll just eat gruel. You're not trying to what's the word? Not emaciate. So you're not trying to go on like some sort of a prison diet. Nothing like that. So whatever you encounter, it's fabulous. It's a nice movie, a good discussion, some good conversation with your friend or partner. Or a great meal, coffee, whatever. In Melbourne, it'd be coffee, wouldn't it? So yeah. So something like that. A very good latte. So you go. So there's a bliss that comes with it, and if you have a good, peaceful mind, and it's not agitated or upset, you'll enjoy it even more because your mind's in good shape. So we're going to do a very easy meditation to start with. So to give you the experience of the mind being at peace. So this one's called the breathing meditation. So if you like, this meditation clears away the obstacles and worries and afflictions which we might have, or we can describe as clouds, and brings us a state of peace. And it brings us a state of peace because the mind is at some form of rest. And when it's at rest, that crystal clear Buddha nature starts to be revealed. So we'll do the meditation. We'll only do it for a short time because it's better to meditate for a short time and have some focus rather than sitting for too long and then wondering when it's going to finish. So it's always better to short, stop and then enjoy it rather than long. How long is this going to take? And then you'll get a feeling of I never want to do this again. So you have to try and avoid that. Just short, keep it going, then stop. Okay, so we'll do that. So we'll do a little bit of meditation. So make yourself comfortable. So we'll go through this in more detail in subsequent weeks, but the main thing is to keep your back straight. So And you can do that whether you're sitting on a chair or sitting on the floor. So you keep your mouth closed and you're going to be breathing through your nose. So the focus of our meditation tonight is going to be on the breath. So keep your hands gently on your lap. So in our tradition, go left hand underneath and right hand on top, and then your thumbs touching, and then your thumbs are pointing back towards your navel. So they're sitting on your lap, and then you're pointing your thumbs back towards your navel, just like that. So that's good. So Geshe Doga describes this as it actually helps the energy flow. And there's a little bit of, you might actually feel a little bit of heat where your thumbs are touching, and you're touching just a little bit below the navel. But you may notice that there's that energy there. So your eyes are not completely closed and not completely open, so you just want to let in the impression of light. So you just want to have let enough light in so that you're alert but relaxed. So you're breathing gently through your nostrils. So you can imagine or visualize, so we'll start so that as you're breathing out, all your anxieties, worries and concerns of the day are being removed. And as you're breathing in, you can let beautiful enlightened energy come into you. So just do that. We'll do that for a few moments. So then you can switch your focus to the breathing, so gently through the nostrils, and try to keep your attention there on that sensation, so the sensation of the breath going in and out through the nostrils. So we'll do that for a few minutes. And if your concentration wavers and you start thinking about other things, then just gently and slowly bring the attention back to the breathing. So you can gently bring your awareness back to the room, and then you can open your eyes. Would anyone like to volunteer what they experienced? Did anyone experience a calm mind? No, yes? No? Sorry, what was that? Colour. Okay. Strong purple colour. Okay. I'll come back to that. I'll try and make a process. But so there's a few like, oh, not that easy. So was it distraction? Like I was trying to focus on the breath, and I kept on getting these thoughts coming in and out. Oh, in. Yep. Oh, yes. So you're hearing things or from the outside, is that what you mean, physical? Oh, in the body, okay. The thoughts. So I've heard the analogy that it's a bit like, the thoughts are a bit like carbonated water or soft drink. We don't say Coca-Cola anymore, do we? But that the thoughts are like that, those bubbles. They keep bubbling, but eventually the bubbles stop. So what happens though when you start meditating, you weren't that aware that your mind was like that it was constantly going, but when you start to focus back in, you'll notice it even more. You're more aware, so it's actually a good thing initially, but it does subside, so that's the good news. So it's not like it's a radio station that you've turned it on and it'll keep going regardless of you. Any effort you make, it'll peter out. So, but you have to have some focus to bring your mind back. So those thoughts, they're called adventitious thoughts, or discursive thoughts. Actually, discursive thoughts. So they're like my keys. I've lost my keys. Oh gosh. Someone's stolen my car. Oh no, that can't be good. So it leads to a problem in the afflicted mind coming up, that there's this thing about a worry about my car being stolen. So it just started with my keys, where are my keys? So that's how it works in terms of these sort of discursive thoughts, and then the afflicted mind, the problematic minds coming. So when you do the meditation, you'll probably find discursive thoughts coming, and then if you go with them, then you'll worry about, as I have, my car, it's been stolen, so that'll be the dread. So, but if you focus back on the breath, then the advantage of that is, for those few minutes, you're free of those afflicted minds. Yes, you have a question?
After meditation, should you be able to continue without medical, but should you be able to step outside?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the question from the gentleman was, after meditation, should you be able to continue without being bombarded with the discursive thoughts or afflicted minds? Yeah, so there's a little bit of training involved. So if you've listened, you've thought about, and then you've actually done the meditation, you'll have an effect as you get better at the meditation. I can meditate for more clearly and for a little bit slightly longer without any distraction, or when my mind gets distracted, I can pull it back. So that's good, because you weren't able to do that before, or I wasn't able to do that before. So I'd think about the car keys and then my mind be gone. There'd be no way I'd be able to be peaceful because I'd be worrying. So with practice, you can just, in meditation, bring it back and just focus on the breath or the particular meditation. And then out of meditation, there's a cognitive change, but it might not be noticeable unless you keep doing it. So they sort of say meditation practice. So they say you should be consistent with your meditation practice. So if you can do it every day, that's the best. And you don't have to do it for an hour a day or 2 hours a day, or it can be a few minutes. But to do it is very good. You'll notice over time that there'll be some cognitive change, that you'll have more space in your interactions, and you won't be so caught up with the discursive thoughts or the afflicted minds. You'll have a little bit of, oh, well, it's not that bad. Does that make sense to everyone? Does that answer your question? Yeah. So that takes a bit of time. It's not like, oh, well, I sat down, I did it, and now the world's rosy. It's sort of not like that. But it is work in progress. So the method's there, and it does work. So that's the one good thing. Yeah, sure, please do. Yep. Yes. So with the meditation, so how do you not turn the thoughts into a negative? Is that what you're saying? That you bring? Yeah. Sure. Okay. So at the beginning of the meditation, we did, breathe in, enlightened energy coming in, and then breathe out all your worries and concerns. So you're doing, your first thing then is you're out rubbish, and then in something positive, virtuous inside, and then you sort of slowly, without thinking about it, you're bringing your mind in already, just with that. And then once it's there, it's settled, it's in that spot, then you can do the breathing meditation. And then with some gentleness you go, okay, distraction here, do I go with that distraction, or do I gently bring my mind back to the breath, in and out? So that's the technique. And believe it or not, when people first do it, some of them are exhausted by doing that, mentally and physically exhausted by trying to bring the mind back. Because you think it's no effort, there's not like running a marathon, but it actually takes a lot of effort to tear yourself away from whatever it is that's distracting you, whether it's a problem or an emotion or a person. But you can do it, so that's the good thing. So does that answer your question? Yeah. So it's doable, it's possible. It definitely does work. So it just takes practice. So does anyone have another question? Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks I've really struggled to think on my spirit. Just now, I don't know whether it's kind of thumbs in, but I sensed a curative energy in the room.
Yep.
And that felt really nice.
Yep.
And you're running your good intentions. I don't know if there's something that is kind of close and that can
That's good. Yeah, there is something about the power of positive intentional motivation, and that's why it's very good to set that intention right at the beginning of meditation or your day. Boom. And I relayed this story last year when I was teaching that I once tried to forget the motivation and just do the meditation. And it went pretty well. I thought, oh, this is good. I can just sit down and meditate, and good. It felt good. And then the next night, Geshe Doga was teaching, and he made a pointed observation about you must set your motivation before you do your meditation. It's a must. So, and it's that direction of the energy too. And then, so that definitely what you're saying makes a lot of sense. The positive motivation or intention pushes the energy in a virtuous way. And then the other thing is the power of the group. If you're all working towards a positive end through meditation or listening or studying, that definitely has an effect and can bring you some peace. So has anyone ever been to any teachings with the Dalai Lama? Yep, yeah, a few people. So yeah, so if you're ever around, if you ever have an opportunity to be in the same room or auditorium and listen to him, then he's in total command of the texts and the teachings and whatever else is going on, but there is that sense of peace being around him. So that's palpable, and I think that's something that we go, oh well, it's just a guy, but then you think, no, there's something going on that makes a difference. And that's something that we can do too. So we might not be in totally like the Dalai Lama, but we certainly can have that impact on other people. So that's very good. I'm glad you had some positive results. So for those of you who said, oh no, the mind was going like that, there's a good example of how it can be turned around. So it just takes practice, and you have to know you have to have the right method, and you have to have the motivation. And you have to do the listening, contemplating, and then meditating. So if you do those things, it'll work. Yeah. Sorry, another question? Yeah, that's. I won't say that's true because I said it, but it's. But the point's very good because we're not machines, are we? We're not robots. So there's no. I plugged Mark in. I turned the switch on, and there he went. It's like it doesn't work like that with human beings. So we have to. We receive information, we sort of we process it, then we try and filter it, and then we learn from it. And then you'll notice this change, as you said, organically over time. And that's the other thing about human beings. We're very resilient. So even if we find, oh, gee, it wasn't that good, and it's really tough, and I've got these problems, and I can't. If you keep at it, then it can be worked through. So there's and you can make progress. So Geshe Toga has talked about the students evaluating themselves. How much progress have they made? So do you think he's sort of saying, oh, just look at a short period of time and then have you made any progress? No, he's sort of saying, look long term maybe. You could probably see, oh, I'm actually a bit happier though now than I was 3 months ago or a year ago or 5 years. But then if you look over a long time, like I've been studying Buddhism for over 30 years, and I look back at myself and I go, wow, gosh, I was pretty, and you might not believe this, I was reserved, quiet, a bit shy and withdrawn and not lacking confidence, just all these things. I thought, oh, okay, righto, that was me 30 odd years ago. And they're all external things, so you go, well, who cares? But then you think, well, is the Mark that's here now happier than he was then? And I go, well, yeah, I think so. I believe so. So there's over a long period of time going, well, or there's some little progress in that happiness, development of happiness and satisfaction, that when I look back I go, well, there's no way that character, that young fellow, on his own, left to his own devices, 30 years later would have had that. And that's through, and I think, again, being fortunate enough to be around Tara Institute and the teachers and the teachings and trying to practice them, and not very well, but still I can see, well, there's some little minuscule progress there, and I go, well, that's good, because you can see I did this and this and this, and here's the effect. So that's something to treasure. Because a lot of time we think, well, it's life. Here's some views, world views. Life's random. Who's heard that? It's so random. It's, you know, as though everything's sort of out of our control. It's just going to happen. Has everyone heard that term? Or am I just... yeah, okay, yeah, good. Okay. So, but life's not like that at all, is it? Because we have our own, if you like, veil or interpretation of those things, whatever happens, and our response to them. So that can be, we can change that. So that's good. And the other thing is, if life's not random, it's determined. It's written in the stars. So does everyone get that one? It's only going one way, and that's that way. So is life like that? So everyone's shaking their heads. So everyone's got seem to have a good understanding of the law of cause and effect. So, but some people believe that, very deterministic life. I've started like this. This is my life. This is the way it'll end up. This is where I'll be next. So, boom, 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 and then, so life doesn't have to be like that. So, the conditions might go that way, where it seems like, oh, we're heading this way, but the mental response can be altered. Ed?
Just getting back to motivations. How
Yep.
much do you customise the motivations? Like, say, it's really easy doing meditation and you're feeling fantastic and life's going on really well. Obviously, in harder times, would you adjust your motivation?
Yeah, so so Ed's asked a good question about motivation, establishing the motivation and then re-establishing it or resetting it. Is that what you're talking about?
I guess like from day to day. So like
Oh,
one
yeah.
day you might feel fantastic and then another day you might just feel sick or
Yep.
have something worrying you. And would you custom? I mean, because obviously the motivation is to try and put into practice the teachings to benefit all sentient beings. But
Yep.
how much would you customise that?
Yes. So Ed's asked a very deep question, really, around motivation, intention, and also the actual bodhicitta motivation, which is I'm practicing giving in the other perfections for the may attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. So we'll cover that in subsequent weeks. So can anyone see how that's possible? That you can achieve the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings? Yes? No? Could anyone say no? Would anyone say no? No. There's a no. So, righto, that's good. Because there's one thing, is it possible? Is it doable? Because if it's not doable, then what's they're empty words. But every refuge and generating, every refuge prayer that we say has that as your motivation for all sentient beings' sake. I'm going to achieve the state of Buddhahood. So there has to be this little glimmer or glimpse that, well, it's actually doable for a being like me to achieve that state one day. So I'm going to do my best to do it. But in terms of adjusting your motivation, I try and say the same words each time. So, and I do it in the morning because I've got very little memory during the day when I'm, at work or with others. I can't keep. I'm not that good like that. I can re-establish my good motivation, but I can certainly do it in the morning if I can get a minute or two on the cushion, or even when I wake up, I'm going to try. I'm going to do this. Going to do that, and then say the prayer. And then when you actually contemplate what the prayer means, and then you maybe even meditate on it, it'll actually become deeper than just listening to it, or reading it. So it has an impact. So it's that organic thing you were mentioning. So you can, you don't have to. If you start with a good motivation, that has enough impetus to push you through the whole day. You don't have to keep going, well, oh, now I'll re-establish it again. Or, you can keep, if it's good to begin with, it'll give you some impetus. And what you'll find is as you get good at your meditation and the flow-on effects are post-meditation, that'll keep you going. So even if the day it's lousy, you go, oh gosh, I'm fighting with my partner, the kids are a hassle, work's no, even if all those things happen, you'll still get through it. You won't collapse. And so the motivation and the practice will help you. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yep. Has anyone else got any questions? Yep.
If you had a radio frequency tile attached to your car keys, which was paired to your mobile phone, would you use your mobile phone to find your car keys later, or would you put your mobile phone down and continue meditating?
Oh, you're talking about interruption with the mobile phone?
No. You've got a radio frequency tile.
Yes. Oh, are you talking about losing your car keys? I just used that as an analogy for. Yours is a very good solution, because that would stop that discursive thought, wouldn't it? I've got a Bluetooth or a wire. Excellent, yeah. But unfortunately, even if this is solved, here's another device. Where's my phone? No, no, forget this, but just this one. Where's my phone? So you go, and then you start to panic, because for most of us here, it's like it's either here, or it's here, or it's here, or it's here. So and then it's like, oh, I better check my whatever the app is. So there's a little bit of grasping at it, huh? It's because that's the thing, isn't it? We've built something with the device, so that if it's ever out of sight, we start to, again, the discursive thought, where's my phone? Oh, I've lost it, it cost me a bomb, and if I lose it, it's gone to my contacts. Then you start, the mind races, then you start having these sort of afflicted thoughts coming in that, gosh, someone's stolen it. Oh, I know who's stolen it. I'll get him, so there's that. It's true, isn't it? That's how your mind works. So you're not at peace when that happens. So I've got it. Anyway, so yeah, that device is good, the Bluetooth one. But I haven't lost my car yet. But anyway, no one's stolen it, I hope. Anyway. But so we haven't really gone into different types of afflicted emotions, but would anyone like to give a few examples of afflicted emotions? Anger, yeah, anger's a good one. Jealousy, yep. Fear, yes. Fear can be good if it's justified fear. If it's a sort of I'm fearful of something but it's not really as bad as it looks, then that can be a bit problematic. But if it's something like, well, I'm about to be hit by a train, that's legitimate fear, isn't it? Because you're about to be hit by a train. So yep. Anyone else? Frustration, yes. Attachment, yes. Judgment, yes, judgment. What about some positive emotions, or positive? What are some positive things to have? Happiness, joy, compassion, yes. Enthusiasm. What about the L word? Does anyone? Love. Yes, love and compassion, yes. So all those are so there's sort of like these the clouds, these negative afflicted emotions. So we're trying to sort of push them away, actually temporarily, when we're doing the meditation, we're sort of temporarily suppressing them, aren't we? Because we're focusing on the breath and we're breathing in that enlightened energy, so we're temporarily having some peace. But eventually, when we develop the method, we'll be able to clear those afflicted emotions away, and we're left with the sky, and the sky, that Buddha nature, has all those positive qualities that you mentioned all the time. So there's one thing, if you so say you have anger, because that's one of the strong emotions, isn't it? It sort of can come out of nowhere. You can be calm, everything's good, things are cruisy, and then all of a sudden you get angry, and then it's like a World War III, huh? Because it's like that very powerful, strong emotion, and then ability to say or do something harmful. Can that be removed permanently? Yes? Everything's impermanent. Okay. That's true. That's a Buddhist teaching. Everything is impermanent. What about the positive emotions? Are they going to be eliminated? Can they be? Okay. So there's a little bit of that. So you still have to keep that analogy, because the way we're thinking is there's this afflicted emotions obscuring that Buddha nature, and once we clear away anger, say we use anger, you're left with that pristine, clear sky, the Buddha nature. So that's the potential of the human being to achieve that. And they say that's the potential of all beings, but the human being has the ability to actually achieve it. So all the conditions and that mind. So we have that perfect convergence of external and internal conditions to be able to achieve that state. So if you can remove one affliction, then you should be able to remove them all. If you can't remove one, then you can't remove any. So the logic works both ways. So you have to be convinced that, oh, okay, if I work on this and work on this, then eventually it'll subside, and eventually I can just clear it away. And once you do it for one, you can do it for all. Sorry, question? No emotions? No, because we were talking about afflicted emotions like anger and so on, and also then the positive emotions, love and compassion, joy, enthusiasm. There were more. So there are lots more. So when they say that the negative emotions are completely removed and you're only left with that Buddha nature, it has all the positive qualities. So you have all those positive qualities remaining. They don't go as well. In fact, they say that those qualities are magnified and developed infinitely because you've removed those obscurations. And that's how you achieve the state of Buddhahood. And then you'll be working for all the sentient beings. So you won't just say the prayer, but you'll actually be living it, because your intention will be that, and you'll have those qualities. And that's why someone like His Holiness is a good example, because when you see him, you think, oh, he says he's just a humble Buddhist monk. But when you look at him, you go, no, he's actually an inspiration to so many people, and he's teaching them, and he's also benefiting them, and he's saying prayers for them, and he works outside the realm of Buddhism, doesn't he? Because he talks about world peace and feeling compassion, and he's very sorry that he sends his condolences to the New Zealand Prime Minister, for that massacre that occurred. He's going outside the realm of Buddhism and just being a leader, helping beings. So that's good. So there's a good example of someone who perhaps has no negative afflicted emotions, but is acting purely from those positive virtuous qualities. So, does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. I think we'll finish with some meditation, and then once we do that, we'll do the I'll just say the dedication prayer. So again, so the most important thing is just sit with your back straight, whether it's on the floor or on the chair. So your eyes are half closed, half open, just to let the impression of light in. So your hands are on your lap, left hand on the bottom, right hand on top, your thumbs touching, pointing towards your navel. So your mouth's closed, you're breathing through your nostrils. So you begin and just so breathe in the enlightened energy and breathe out any worries and concerns, afflicted emotions, and just do that a few times. And then gently switch your focus to the sensation of the breath as it goes in and out through your nostrils, and try and keep your attention there. So gently bring your awareness back to the room, and you can open your eyes. So. That's very good. So I'll just read the dedication prayer. So for those of you not familiar with it, you can just internalise it as I say it. So, may I quickly become Guru Lord Buddha and lead each and every sentient being into his enlightened realm because of these merits. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen never diminish but increase more and more. So thank you very much this week, and there's a cup of tea and biscuits, I think, in the kitchen, the dining area. So thank you.